Oh, Foxy, it's your birthday. Not for real, just for play. This is Cree Summer, and Moana Nui will be right back.
Aloha everyone. Welcome to the Moana Nui podcast for our monthly Mana Bomb segment. This is Moana, and I am joined as always by
Aloha mai kako. This is Kanoelani Davis from Monobombs powered by Pomahina Designs.
Awesome. So today is episode 4, and today's Mana Bomb is stay humble because I've seen those who mock people become those people.
Ooh. That's for all the ones who be talking a lot of smack and then, they haven't looked in the mirror lately. I wanted to, can I share the caption that I had written?
Yeah.
So I say now, isn't that the truth? The past 2 years have revealed those who can be nice, positive, and friendly, complain about others, and then realize they are the ones they complain about or have opinions about. I share this because based off of my experience, I absolutely think it's important that we come from a very direct experience versus a very indirect experience where we listen to other people's stories, but learn from our own little lessons. It's an interesting observation, especially when you're in a place to put value on quote unquote being heard and seen, knowing full well it's a projection of the lack of value they received in many given spaces, perhaps even from childhood. But what interests me the most is that when genuinely seen and heard, they don't realize they're ironically what they despise. I mean, literally the truth. I say this because of what may or may not happen in the future as far as rights are concerned. How do we not become what we fear, despise, and are hurt by? For many, this is subconsciously happening, and in their righteousness, they don't even know it. I pray for the humbleness so that we may be able to reflect better on what we genuinely bring to the table, to acknowledge where we come short and bring clarity to our growth and healing so that the next steps we take will be a meaningful, solid, and established steps so that every step that there is thereafter has the same rhythm of being radically honest with ourselves and with others. That clarity will build a community of strength. But until then, please go inward, see, accept, and be bold enough to make internal changes for your own health and well-being. Remember, you are your first medicine.
Mm-hmm.
Collectively, we can be able to do anything. I think about this because of I hear in the line of work that I'm in, or even in the spaces that I'm constantly in, I hear a lot of complaining about other people or the systems in which things are not working and how horrible, policies are, administration is, how horrible, maybe the teacher is treating their children or teachers are in general or the principal or whatever. And, I hear this so often, but then what's interesting to me is like listening to those people and then seeing how their actions are in their real life. And I'm like, you're doing the same exact thing that they're doing, so I think about myself in those spaces like, man, am I actually, I better be careful about how I complain about things. So I try to focus on being more appreciative than complaining. Not to say that I don't complain, but like at the end of the day, I do my best to like always be appreciative first and foremost, so that I don't come out complaining. But I think as I reflect, I don't want to be that one person who complains about everything, and yet, hello, it's you. You know what I mean? Like, why would I? Yeah, that's embarrassing. I don't know. What's your thoughts on that?
No, I mean, I definitely think every time I read your mana bombs, and it's not just yours, but just things to reflect on. Like I always think about myself first and like, ooh, am I guilty of that one? I hope I grown past that one. But this one, like when we talk about complaining, and I typically, for the most part, I try to stay away from complaining. But I'm human. I'm not perfect, right? Like, so there are times when I do complain, but then I gotta snap myself out. I'm like, okay, get it out your system and get back into the gratitude piece, right? Which is for me, like I have my planner and like every day, no matter how good or how hard the day was, I always try to put down like one gratitude, one win, like what is something positive that I can take away from the day. It could be small, like, oh, I had worked out today, or oh, today I had finished this task that I said I wanted to finish, right? Because I think if you only focus on the negative stuff and the stuff that didn't go right, then you're not motivating yourself to keep going against, like along something that you're trying to make progress on. It's so easy to fall into the negative side. Um, but I think even more so, like, so today we had this at work, we had like an all hands meeting, and part of the meeting was kind of like talking about employee climate survey that we do like every year, and leadership was kind of briefing on like what the plans are to help to make progress in that area. And one of the top things was engagement and communications, with the workforce. And so like, oh, okay, that's a reasonable one. So then at the end of the town hall, they carved out specifically a question and answer time where people could bring up any issues and leadership would address them, right? Like it's kind of part of the solution. Um, and guess what? Was quiet. You could hear one mouse inside there. And
What?
so I say that because, like, if you're gonna complain about a
Yeah.
problem, it's a two-way street. Like, if your complaint is that there needs more leadership engagement and communication, engagement and communication implies that you doing your part too. So you cannot
Eee.
come in
Yeah.
there and like just be quiet. We're like, well, I thought we had problems. Like, let's talk about it. How are we gonna solve it? Oh, you was just making noise. Like kind of like to what we was just talking about earlier. Like, oh, you're gonna be the loud one, but really, do you really want a solution? Or are you just asking for the attention and you just want to focus on like what somebody else is doing or not doing? But never mind, I tried to keep the attention away from me. That's how I kind of took it today. And I was like, bruh. I walked out of there and I'm like, oh, I'm so disappointed with that conversation because there should have been some conversation.
Yeah, that is a
Yeah.
big. I see that all the time. I used to try my best because I have to play leadership roles in a lot of the spaces that I'm in. I like to hear what other people have to say because
Me too.
then I can help in like growing myself, the spaces that I'm in. And so I would do that. I would shape and shift based off of people's complaints because I invited that. Tell me.
Mm-hmm.
But what I noticed was after I shift, oh, we need to have a calendar with all the calendar information on there. Okay, boom. Here's your calendar. Here's all the things. Nobody freaking uses it, right? Oh, we need more communication because we don't know what's going on. Okay, so we send emails out, newsletters out, texts out. We make sure that we amplify the communicate. Nobody responds. And so you're like, so after a while, so I think this is what we all need to think about is like, ever heard of that story, right? The boy who cried wolf,
Mm.
the victim who always complained or who acted like something was always wrong. But when something went wrong, nobody was gonna listen. So that's what happened in my spaces. Like I started to when I figured out their patterns, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was our last monobomb. So if you haven't listened to our last monobomb, go listen to it. When I figured out their patterns, oh, you're just making noise because you need to feel like you matter.
Mm-hmm.
And you get other people who also want to be on your team, so it makes you feel really tough. Oh, you're just noise. And so then at one point, you just go, yeah, she's just complaining. Like, let her go. And sometimes that's okay for that person, and that's okay for you too. That
Mm-hmm.
could also ultimately work out. But if that person starts to recruit other noisemakers who recruit other noisemakers, and
Yes.
now you have a gang of noisemakers and who literally do nothing but expect everything, then yeah. you got to deal with that too, and that can be difficult and very, very depressing. But at the end of the day, you kind of look at those who complain. Are they part of the solution? Are they proposing a solution, or are they just sitting there talking shit? And most times they're just talking shit, and so you just don't take them seriously. Unfortunately, you just can't.
Yeah.
So
No, I think that's a great strategy, and it's one of the tools I learned, as I was coming up through the ranks too. Is if people are consistently bringing problems and they don't agree with like what the path that you've been taking, is like, okay, flip it right back on them. Like, okay, so what's like, what is your suggestion? What do you think would work better? And most of the times people be like,
mhm,
because they don't have a solution. They just want to complain about the problem.
mhm.
Which unfortunately is not productive. And so like if you want to be respected in that space, then you should definitely have an idea. Doesn't mean we have to implement it, but you should be thinking about it. Like if it's a problem, think about a potential solution, or bring up some ideas that we could try out, but don't just come just to come, because that doesn't help anyone. Doesn't help the person that you're talking to, and it for sure ain't helping you either. So
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it can go as far as even friendships and relationships. It doesn't have to
mhm.
be just in workspaces too.
Yep.
There have been friendships where, oh my gosh, you've been like around people who just literally all they do is complain and talk shit. I'm not gonna lie, like I have family members who are like that, and they just like anytime I'm in their presence, it's like, did you know that this person and this person, and I know they're not in those spaces, but yet they're like, and you're like, and before it used to bother me a lot. Like I
Mhm.
couldn't be in those spaces. I was be like, no, I would argue that didn't happen, or like that's not happening, and I try to defend and protect. I think now at this age, I'm like, it goes in one ear literally and out the other. And it's like, ugh,
Yeah.
you can't change. You can't teach sometimes you can't, most times you can't teach an old dog new tricks. So like, it is what it is. And it's really, how does it bother you? How does it affect you? And only you can affect you. So at the end of the day, now I can be around those people and I just laugh. But when they're complaining, I laugh, and it either irritates them, or if I don't respond, they get pissed off, and but then it shuts their complaining down
Right.
and their negativity down. So I'm just like, yeah, I still want that game, and then I'll just change the subject and talk about something fun. But at the end of the day, it's like you got to be careful, because you just see a lot of fools talking about a lot of fools, and who are all fooling around doing some foolish things
Wasting time.
and wasting time. And then they wonder why they're still in those stuck
Thank
just
you.
places. Yeah,
That
exactly.
part.
And then they're pissed at you for moving forward and doing
Yes.
something in life. Yeah, exactly.
That part. Like I cannot. Like I sometimes I watch people and I'm like, bruh, how does like must be a luxury to just like waste that much time just talking about nothing. I'm just like, wait.
But we gotta have those people. And you know what? Those people buy us time. Just think about it.
True.
Those people who just sit and talk and like stay in those spaces, they buy us time. They buy time for other people to follow, for other people. Because if not, they're in your way, right?
Mhm.
Me and my bestie have this phrase: you're either with me or you're in the way. Like,
Uh-huh.
get out of the way, and I will leave you behind. And she knows that too. I'll leave you behind too. I don't care. Like, and she'll leave me behind if she was elevating too, and then that's fine too. But I think one of the biggest things is how do we advocate for folks to look at the appreciation component
Yes.
more than the complaint of component, because their complaint box has got to be full.
There's
It's
like
gotta be.
that.
Like, bro, I mean, everything. But I see that in people who are miserable.
Yes.
People who are miserable complain. And I'm like, but misery loves company. Just always remember that. And you're
Yes.
not here to be in company with misery. So
But bruh, I'm just like, at what point do you realize that you're making yourself miserable? You know what I mean? Like,
they don't. I mean, I think they do, but again, that's that radical honesty I had talked about earlier.
yeah.
Um, you can acknowledge it and be self-aware, but that doesn't mean you're going to do anything about it, because there's fear. There's
Mm,
absolute fear in knowing that if I actually stop complaining, nobody's going to ever listen to me again. If
right.
I stop complaining, nobody's going to help fix things for me again. If I stop complaining, I can't get the free meal that, the hair was in my plate again that I put. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that attention, like they know that if they actually had to step into themselves in the most fullest way, they will lose all the things that they yearn for. But they don't realize they actually gain that and more if they move away from those complaints. There's a lot more beauty in the attention you get, and the type of attention you get, and the value of attention that you get when you can discipline yourself to look at the
Mhm.
positive versus the negative.
Yeah, definitely. Appreciation, gratitude, those are all the flip side. Like, try to get back to the flip side and go to the good side.
Oh, I will say that like for me, for the past maybe 2021, maybe 4 years, past 4 years, I write three mahalos a day. Three
Mm,
mahalos a day. And the reason why I started to do that was because remember, I was in a very toxic, narcissistic relationship. So the way I was getting out of that relationship, the only way I could do it was stop complaining about what's in front of you and you not doing anything, Kanoe. So I focused on what I was grateful for. And if that every morning, there were moments where I couldn't even think of anything. I'm like, I don't have anything to be grateful for. And then I was like, what the fudge? You woke up this morning. I am thankful for waking up this morning. I am thankful for the roof over my head. I am thankful for the water that I can drink. I am thankful for the
mhm.
car that took me to work today. Simple things like that we take for granted helps us refocus that. And that helps us kind of like, it did help me kind of uh not focus on the complaints of it being in a shitty ass relationship and why the hell I was still there, because I wasn't controlling myself. And it started to, and doing the three mahalo a day helped me regain my strength. And it took a lot out of me because I didn't know what to be thankful for anymore, because I was ready to give up on life.
Right.
And even if that meant every morning looking over at my daughter's face and go, I am thankful for her smile. I am thankful to hear her laughter down down the hallway. Those things helped me to remember who I was, and it helped
Mhm.
me regain my strength. And I did that, and I still do it today as a management, my mental health management, and to stick to that because, um, yeah, I think if you can replace the complaint with a mahalo, you're well on your way to like really finding more positive spaces. And then when you're in that space of positivity and gratitude, it opens up more opportunities of the things that you love, not the things that you hate.
Yeah, no, definitely. Because I too um when I find myself remembering like the types of things that most people do take for granted and just acknowledge that, you know, the basics, like you just said, the roof, the food, the family, the ohana, like all of the things that we mahalo, we appreciate. Um, it like amplifies their value too, like it just, I don't know, it just shifts the mindset and is really what we need. I know is definitely like what I need. I mean, because me personally, like I'm not really a materialistic person anyway. So like a lot of the stuff that most people be like, ooh, I don't know. I feel like a lot of social media is that, yeah, like it's of people trying to flex on whatever thing, and I'm like, I could give two shits about that. Like, I'm happy you're happy about it, but for me, it's just the little things that I really mahalo, and that's what helps me stay grounded. That's what helps me stay true to myself and who I am and what's important to me. And if things start to kind of veer away from that, then I got to ask the question, like, is that for me, or is that something I bypass and I keep moving so that I can focus on like um what maintains my mana, like is it feeding me or is it draining me? Because if it's draining me, then it's probably not for me and I need to redirect my attention and my energy elsewhere. Yeah.
That's a big one. And whoever, if you're listening to this and you're in your 20s, 30s. I mean, awesome. I'm so happy you're listening to Mono Bombs. Hopefully you can get a lot further ahead at your age than it was for us
Yes.
to be at that age, right? But I will say that this took time for us to
Mhm.
kind of really get to this space of acknowledging a lot of those appreciations. We had to see a lot of hard things in our lives to get to this point. And not that I encourage others to have to go through that, right? I always say, if you're not going to take control of your life, the universe will. And sometimes those lessons are a lot harder than the ones that are in front of you right now. And so what you're sharing and what I'm sharing too, because we're same age, y'all. Like we've been through some stuff. So like at the end of the day, it's time that allowed us this ability to have this type of wisdom. So I
Mhm.
encourage folks who are listening to this that are at a younger age, um, just go live your life. You won't fail, but it's gonna be okay, because those failures are gonna help build this space. But if you can get to a point where you can heed our words and avoid some of those things, my gosh, power to you. I want you to have a happier life earlier than
Yeah.
later, for the
Yeah.
most part. But yeah, just live, because don't live in fear, live in just, and you're not going to live in regret or resentment if you just free your mind from those spaces and just see the good. Don't live in positive toxism, because that's a real issue too. But live in avoidance. Don't live in that, but just live in this whole means of appreciation and abundance, and that will be attracted to you, versus the complaining and wishing and hoping things were different. That place it's a endless hole of misery. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely learn from our lessons. Learn from the wisdom that we have now that we had to learn from the school of hard knocks. Um, but yeah, so Kano, are you an older sibling too? Yeah.
I am the oldest. I am the
Yeah.
oldest
Okay. Yeah.
child.
Same.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is one of the things that like I feel like the younger siblings and me and my sister talk about this too. Like, oh, I'm so glad, like I learned from all of your stuff. And I'm like, yeah, glad for you too. Let us
You can
both
see
learn.
it. You can see it. Like even my four daughters, I can see the youngest. She's learned some lessons. My two younger girls have learned some lessons that they learned from their older sisters. Um, the older sisters took a lot of knocks from me as a
Mhm.
parent, because I was a young parent, but they also took a lot of hard knocks as far as like, I'm pretty sure most adult older children are traumatized. Sorry to my older children
Probably.
if you're listening.
We
Anyways,
feel
but
you.
yeah,
We hear you. It's gonna be okay.
it's gonna be okay. I mean, at the end of the day, hopefully life also throws you some really great things in the meantime. So
Yeah.
we cannot. Everybody's gone through this, and it's not an excuse. And I apologize for all the traumas and tribulations I've created. But honestly, uh, yeah, learning those lessons now is a lot easier than the universe doing it to you. And I promise you, those are the worst. When the universe throws you those moments because you didn't learn your lesson, they'll be teaching you some hard ways, and it's not fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, be mindful of your patterns.
Be mindful of your parents. That was the last podcast. Go
Yes.
listen back on that one.
Episode 3. Check out
Episode
that
3,
one
yeah.
too.
All right. Well, Moana, thank you so much for allowing me to be again on Moana Nui podcast. Signing off from the island of Molokai Nui on Hina. This is Kanoelani Davis of Mana Bombs, powered by Pomahina Designs.
All right. And this is Moana from the Moana Nui podcast. Remember to stay humble, everybody, and express appreciation and gratitude for everything you have. With that said, take care, everybody. Talk to you soon. Ahui.
Aloha.